Hey, it is Monday, December 15th. We're into a very fluid, dynamic weather pattern. It's going to get rid of the fog, which has been an issue for a number of days now. I've talked to people in the Central Valley, and they are like over it, and this is going to change that. Pacific Northwest, this is atmospheric river-like. It'll get called an AR. It's just a lot of moisture being flung onto the West Coast. It's segmented a little bit, so it's not as atmospheric rivery to me. There are moments where it will be. The rain is going to fall out again up in the Cascades, and they're looking at another 6 inches of rain, which will add to that 12 inches of rain, which will continue the flood warnings, flood advisories, and they're really concerned right now for mud flows. The rivers have flood, the rivers have reached record state, but now we're worried about there's ground saturation, and you're going to put more rain. And up in these areas, up in the Cascades, it definitely, there's a lot of unstable rock and soil, so there's going to be some slides, as there always are. So not unusual, but that's the day it's going to be, today and tomorrow. Then all this rain shifts south, and it does something for us that you'd like to see a lot of rain, but what it's going to do mainly is get rid of the fog, especially north of Modesto. The fog should go away by this afternoon, tonight, or late tonight. And then tomorrow's a cloudy day, but it's not a foggy day. And that low pressure will move far enough south as we go through the week to break it up for the Fresno area, which has been just ungodly amounts of fog. I say that, I've asked everybody I know. I'm old enough now, so I know people that are like 100 years old. And I go, do you remember? And we're all going, I can't remember a time where there was this much valley fog, this long, this persistent. And for me, mostly, I can remember 77, that big drought year, we did have a lot of valley fog. But it didn't, I don't remember it bleeding into Market Street in San Francisco every day, basically. Really, just in my mind, unprecedented. I'm sure it's not, but that's in my mind. Okay, so here is the satellite image. This is this front system going through. You've got cold air coming here. Oh, and look, you got a warm air feed here, and everything's coming our way. This is the whole week. This pattern of coming off the Pacific, some cold air, some warm air, merging, and we're going to see on again, off again showers, especially, well, Northern California, Redding, Crescent City. You guys, you're going to get hammered. You're going to get a foot of rain in Crescent City over the next week, 2 weeks. But areas further south, like the Bay Area, it's going to be on again, off again. And it looks like manageable, beneficial rainfall at this point. You never know. And the reason I say that is that these types of systems, when there's this much action, I mean, look what we got here. We've got a low here, 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 got a jet stream here, got a jet stream here. I mean, it's a super complex, busy pattern, and it does have a moisture tap. And again, that's what we're looking at right now is the moisture tap. So you're going to hear atmospheric river. I'm okay with just a really wet storm, especially for Northern California. The thing it does do, though, is it does blows the fog up. And that, in my world, is awesome because, again, I can't remember a time where there was this much fog for this long. And it's going to break it up, especially north of Sacramento by tonight and tomorrow. I think Redding will obviously going to clear up probably this afternoon with these scattered showers. It just lifts the inversion. But there's the fog now, and there's the system coming in. Right to the headlines. These are National Weather Service headlines. So we go up to Tacoma, and the blues are winter storm warnings or watches. The browns are wind advisories. The purple are gale warnings. So it's going to be a windy event. And the greens, that weird Seahawk green, well, I never really like that color, actually. That's because I don't like the Seahawks, but that color, it's just like, But that color does get your attention because that is a flood warning, and they are continuing to go, and they will pop up again. We had flood warnings all over the place out there on some good-sized rivers. That's going to happen again. Ground is saturated, soils are going to slip, and the rivers are going to rise. Today and tomorrow, they get a break after that. This is the Weather Service out of Portland, I believe. Yeah, Portland, Oregon, and they're highlighting wind. Breezy conditions, wind gust 40 to 50 miles an hour. Trees down, wet ground, yada, yada, yada. So it's winter in the West Coast. And this is our friends up in Sacramento talking about a pattern shift. And they're stoked because, like I said, everybody, even the Weather Service guys, are going nutty crazy because that inversion, that high pressure that's been with us week after week after week, keeping us dry, has it really just built this fog into like a fortress of fog that has been almost impossible to move, and now it's going to move. It's going to take a little while, but it's going to move, especially in the north areas at first. And then there are your dense fog advisories in the Bay Area and in the Central Valley. This is San Francisco. I like this one. Heads up. Like it's kind of like a petroglyph from ancient Egypt or something, right? It's like your head gets rain on the brain. But they bring up a good point. It's going to be wet through the holidays. And so that, now you got to start planning. And when I say wet, I mean high snow levels, low snow levels, high snow levels, low snow levels. Mountains are going to get, like the guys up at Palisades, they'll have those upper mountains, even on this first brush of rain in the next 48 hours, they're going to put a foot of snow up on Siberia, I hope. Down low, it's going to be wet snow. It's going to be kind of raining, maybe trying to snow a little bit on the pass, but then it really drops down as we go late into the week. So they're saying rain on the brain, keep it going until around the Christmas, New Year's Eve, that period. And then Southern California, you guys are kind of out of it, but you'll see in the model runs where you get back into it. Okay? So those are all the weather headlines. We know what's coming. The first thing I'll say here is, if you hear someone say 12 feet of snow, Lake Tahoe by next Wednesday, or that weird thing people are doing, because you saw what everybody's looking at, and you know as much as anybody right now. I mean, you really do. I mean, we're not looking at the adiabats, we're not looking at the soundings, but you know as much as anybody, right, in terms of timing and where this thing is going to land. You can't do that. How can they do it? You can't. So if you do see stuff like that, flee, like stay away from it as best you can, because they're gonna jump onto the next thing. My experience in weather has always been, especially in television, drive me nuts, but people will throw out, like if there's a chance of rain, they'll say rain. Why is that? Because if you say rain and it doesn't rain and you're wrong, you're a hero. It's a nice day. But if you say it's going to rain, if you say it's going to be sunny and it rains, so in other words, the tendency is you're just playing to expectations. In other words, you're really just kind of saying, this, you know what I'm saying? I know it used to drive me crazy, because our job is to do what you and I just did. We just look at, okay, so now when you talk to your friends about this weather event, and they say, is it going to rain? You're going to go, well, I know, you're going to cut it into pieces. Anyway, it's semantics, but okay, here is the atmospheric river. And you can see it, right? And that is on Tuesday. And then see how it's kind of wrapped into Northern California. And again, it's precipitable water. And is that an atmospheric river? Yeah, right there it is. We'll see if it transpires, because you see how it segments. And it falls apart, and then it segments again northern, and then comes back down the coast again. And then it does, watch this thing down in the south here. This is towards Christmas. Look at that. Up down by Baja, 24th. Look at that, coming into Southern California. That would be huge, that moisture plume. So I just showed you a bunch of fantasy. What I'm going to show you is now, into tonight, into tomorrow. So there's moisture available. That's all we care about. Moisture available in the next 36 hours. So now is there energy? Is there a mechanism? And we see by tomorrow morning, when the moisture is available, there are mechanisms. There's this part of the jet, this is a northerly jet, and then there's this. So there's dynamics there, the lift, right? So that's going to get you some rain. And then we go a little further down the road, but you still see it's sort of under anticyclonic flow. It's still, the ridge of high pressure is still over Southern California. And then it ridges up again on Thursday, and then flattens out again. That would be another main event. So you got this deal going through Tuesday into Wednesday. That's our rain for Bay Area North. Then you get a break on Thursday morning. And then Thursday actually Friday morning, Thursday night into Friday morning again. And that's kind of be the biggest thing this week. And that even reaches down to Southern California. So dynamics. And again, you know, if you try to pinpoint that right now, if I were to go, okay, at 4:35, if I loaded up the HRRR and tried to, you know, you're just kind of, you can't go out that far anyway with the HRRR, which this is, by the way. But you can't time these out. Not the way it is, not in its current iteration. So here is HRRR. This is the rain that's falling now. This is tonight. And then it comes in pretty good. This is tomorrow morning, Cape Mendocino. And you see it's northern centric. And this is December 16th. This is Tuesday afternoon. And that's Wednesday morning. All right, so I know. And it's not going to take much for that to drift south. So if you're in San Jose, you're going to get a few sprinkles Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. Okay, it's still a ways out. Okay, and then this is we'll go out further. This is show the same thing. Here is, that's it. That's Tuesday afternoon. That's the main event this week for most of us. And then just drive-by stuff, right? And it's clicking through. You can look at the date, but it doesn't matter because it's a moisture stream. It's a fire hose. So timing it out is going to be crazy, but just suffice to say, let's go through the next 10 days real slow. Just look at what's going on. It's just a little north. Everything's just a little north. Everything's just a little, and then it shifts south. It gets a little cold. That's when you start seeing your snow in the mountains right there. And that's the Christmas day, Christmas Eve kind of a deal. And that's big snow in the mountains because the heights are down. I think they're down pretty good. Thicknesses are down. They're still pretty high, but they're down. They'll get snow around 6,000 feet. And you see how active it is. Okay. So the way to look at this is accumulation. This is Wednesday morning. So that's your Tuesday night into Wednesday morning thing. How does that look to you? That's not changing my plans. I think you could take the green and drape it a little further south, down there, more towards Santa Cruz, and a little bit down towards, probably just the southern tip of about Monterey. And then you'll see it goes a little further south on Thursday morning. Right, I know. But look at Crescent City getting wet. And then big dose in the Pacific Northwest again as another system comes in. We saw that on the model run. And does it happen? Yeah, some level of this will happen. Where those bullseyes are another thing. But again, manageable water, a foot of rain in Crescent City over 10 days. I think it's manageable. Okay. So we're still far out. Tomorrow we'll do more granular stuff. This is Mount Shasta. I hope that made sense because I didn't really pinpoint anything because you can't. You really can't. And I could try, and I could be close to right. Like I think the accumulation was a good way to look at it because you can go, oh yeah, that's the footprint. And even today, it's sprinkling up in Mount Shasta. It's sprinkling in Crescent City right now. Mount Shasta today, it's warm. Mount Shasta will be in the low 50s, mid 50s today. This is some shower activity down by Alturas, or up by Alturas. And you can see that's the atmospheric moisture. You can see how thick it's getting. Oh, that's a cool sun flare, isn't it? Yeah, some raindrops on the camera. Okay, right. So that's northeastern California. And that's right now is the cutoff. This is Crescent City. And that's the lights from Crescent City, Smith River Drainage Basin. That's pretty good little rain, isn't it? And that's all in the last hour or so. This is this morning. Yeah, it looks right. And that's how it's going to look. That's how it's going to keep doing that. Fort Bragg, Crescent City, you guys are going to be in it. And then this is Redding, the North Valley. And again, there comes that's your inversion buster. These clouds coming in, right? That's more unstable air, and it's going to lift that fog out. You see the fog down in Redding and Red Bluff and Cottonwood. That's going to get lifted out. Not right away. It's going to take a little while, but that should be the mechanism to get it out of there. And it's a beautiful shot, isn't it? Let's see if I can light this up for you. This is Mount Tamalpais this morning. looking towards Mount Diablo, right? That's the valley fog. Look where you live. Isn't that beautiful? But you can see the pattern shift. And the clouds, it's still a stable environment. That's why there's fog. Most of this moisture is overrunning the ridge, and so we're not into an area yet where the inversion can be broken. We will be there soon. This is Mount Diablo. Is this Mount Diablo? Yeah, so we just looked at Mount Diablo from Mount Tam. And beautiful morning shot. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are awesome. What we talk about? Oh, it's funny about the fog. Everybody, like, it's funny. It's been going on and on in the valley, but you guys are hilarious because it's like every day it's people starting to break, you know. That going a little nutty. Like some of the correspondence I get, like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. Like, it's like 45 degrees every morning, every night. It's cold. The cat's cold. The heat, your solar's not pulling solar, so you're paying for your heating that's going nonstop. It's just like, even myself, we get in some fog where I live, which is not that normal. And I'm like, you know what? Not liking it. Okay, this is cool. This is Walnut Grove again. I thought the fog the fog was over, so then the inversion gets pinched down a little bit. Dense fog advisories in Sacramento. See, there you go. That's the top of the inversion right there. Right where you can see right there, where it gets clear, we're right on the inversion. Holy smokes. I wish I knew the height of this tower. I did this yesterday and it said it was like 2 feet. I got to check that. I'm sorry I didn't do that yesterday. I should have checked it. It says elevation 2 feet. But that's from the top of this layer, the air is warming, right? That's an inversion. Inverted air. Usually, right? Usually it's cold, warmer air over cold air, but you're inverting that. I think that's the origins. Walnut Grove today, 45 degrees, sorry. This is Heavenly Valley. Yeah, buddy. Look at that. That's a beautiful day. East South Lake Tahoe, Valley Lake Fog. And this is it. Today's going to be a nice day. Don't get me wrong. This is down by Halama. This is the fog offshore at Point Conception. I always wonder, wouldn't it be fun to see like a mountain lion or something on the camera? I mean, you think if you were here a long time, eventually you'd see something, right? An alien, spaceship, something cool. This is, where are we now? We're at Pine Flat Dam, which I haven't really used this one before. Pine Flat's a funny place. We'll talk about that. If you read King of California, or if you read Cadillac Desert, you know about Pine Flat. Pine Flat's highly contested, was built as flood control, but basically they gave free water. The Army Corps built it, and Boswell and those guys, I think, got them to build the dam, which is a hard thing to do back in the John Muir era, to build the dam for flood control, because of Lake Tulare, and he was trying to keep it dry so he could grow his cotton down there. But anyway, Pine Flat, I'm not going to get involved in the discussion on that, but it's like, a lot of free water going to farmers, and the state's paying for it, or used to pay for it. The taxes paid for it because it was used for flood control. It's semantics, right? Anyway, I'm not commenting either way on it. It's just sort of an interesting focal point in California history. Pine Flat, foggy. This is Palmdale. Okay, Palmdale. Nice. It's beautiful. And then we're doing a little long tour here. This is Mount Woodson, and looking towards Encinitas. And Dr. Marshall Clay Woodson was a Confederate dentist. That's how the mountain got its name. Yeah, Woodson. He was a dentist, Confederate dentist. That's interesting. There's a big influx of after the Civil War, and the boll weevil wiped out the cotton in the South. A lot of Southerners, Confederates and alike, moved to Southern California. There's a huge contingency down there, and this is an example of that, Mount Woodson. And then this is beautiful. This is, well, I didn't do that right. This is Mount Woodson. Is that Mount Woodson? Dang it. Sorry. This is Mount Woodson. So we already know about Mr. Woodson. He was a dentist. But that's Mount Woodson. You're looking towards the north. Okay. So this is the forecast high for today. The forecast highs for today. Okay. It doesn't look much different than the forecast highs for tomorrow. A little bit different. but warm. I guess the thing to note is, even though it's going to be cloudy tomorrow, you're looking at low 60s. That's an air mass thing, isn't it? That tells you that it's going to be cloudy all day and showery in Eureka, and it's 63 degrees. So that's 57 in Wairika. That's a warm weather system. Snow levels will remain high on Mount Shasta. There's our system. Another clipper going by. We'll put the jet stream in. And then it goes like this. And there's a little clipper right there. And the pattern is going to go more zonal. Right now, the pattern is a little bit more like this. See the flow. But as we go into this next few days, next 48 hours, it'll start to go more flat line. And then that's always good for rain production. You just basically, subtropical moisture hitting the west slope of the Sierra Nevada, or hitting the coastal hills, so Santa Cruz Mountains, just bumps right into and goes up. So anytime, if you get a little bit of if it's going another way, like coming down the coast, it shears a little bit and doesn't get the full impact of the orographic lift. So a lot of wind warnings and advisories in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of them. And then that brown would represent dense fog, snow. So it's kind of a thing, right? And you can see the northern tier, that's where they're expecting the next 2 days. And then if we come back in 2 days, those watches and warnings are going to be in here in these zones. We're going to see a lot. And then we'll have our winter storm warnings as we go into next week as well. But again, it's still a little bit of ways. Forecasts, above average temperatures. Well, wait, Bill, it's going to be wet. Because it's subtropical origins on the fuel. That's how you know you're going to be above average. And temperatures will be in the 50s and 60s for a couple of days. And this is actually the 6 to 10 day outlook. And then above average rainfall. And warm air carries a lot of water. So that's how you get above average rainfall, which is nice because we are still above average for rainfall. We had so much. You forget how much rain we had in November and October. We had a lot of rain. I forgot. I forgot how much rain we had. And we're going to get back into it. And we do. We need the rain. Earthquakes, it's been busy. There's a couple, good-sized quakes the last few days. I'm going to put in this is all the earthquakes, right? And these are all the microquakes around the Ring of Fire. And then I'm going to put in the last 7 days, 4.5 or more. And then again, you see this eastern or western Ring of Fire subduction zone seems to really carry. These are all almost 5.0s. And then let's see, I think we're not seeing anything in California. We did have a good size 4.0 the other day. But most of our quakes these are all the above 2.5s. These are looks like some on the Calaveras last night. Let's see. San Ramon 2.7, and then something up here in Santa Rosa. So it's just interesting to note how many earthquakes we have, I guess, is what's interesting to note. This is the swell forecast. The surf's coming up a little bit tomorrow, which you would expect with these weather systems coming off the Pacific. And then I like this because I think the best thing about the swell forecast is it just shows you, obviously the connection, Earth, the atmospheric, oceanic connection. That's what I get out of it. And I go, oh, by the way, this is the birthplace of our storms, and it's active. And you get, so that's always an interesting, oh yeah, it's going to be, there's times I've looked up here where there's nothing going on this time of year, and it's not active, and that would indicate, not good for the weather. We need rain. This is a good time of year. This is going to be a good productive weather system for us. Clean the gutters, the wind, Crescent City, you guys know the drill. Mount Shasta, Lake Tahoe, you're going to be kind of dealing with higher snow levels that will drop down eventually, but it's going to be one of those, they're chaining up on the top, but it's going to be right at the top where we see snow. And I don't even know if they're going to, it'll look at a little snow up there tonight, but it's going to be right up around 6,000 feet, even a little bit higher. That's Ocean Beach right there. And this is Halama. You see the fog offshore. Halama today will go 62 degrees. Yeah. I was going to talk about Robert Livermore today, but I forgot. Livermore Valley, interesting guy. This is Mount Shasta right now, a different shot from Hammond Ranch. And let's just do this. Let's look at it. You can see the cap cloud, and you see everything lowering down. Might even see a few sprinkles here. That's just ridiculous levels of moisture. Look at those lenticulars stack up there. Bad day to climb. That's stunning. I mean, right? And you see the texture on the bottom of those clouds too. Not quite modest, but they're definitely indicating unsettled weather aloft, which makes sense. And then down in Mount Whitney, 14,505 elevation. Whitney's right here. There's nothing going on. And then we take a look at the Mammoth area. It's 35 degrees. They are not making snow. It's not warm enough or cold enough to make snow, but they got snow. And they're going to be interesting because they're a high elevation spot. So they're going to do really well, especially towards the end of next week when that water, that plume, remember that southerly plume we saw? When that gets in, they're going to get unloaded on. Okay, so there's that, and then we're going to look at Venice Beach because it's fun. Oh, a little foggy down there. Oh, that's cute. They put something on the dog, like a little wreath, or it's either Christmas celebratory, or I can't bite my wounds. Everybody's got a dog, man. After COVID, yeah, it looks like it's foggy down there. It'll clear up. It'll be nice this afternoon. It'll be in the low 60s, mid 60s. In Southern California, you guys don't really get into the heavy stuff. That's scary. You don't really get into the heavy rain until, a good 4 or 5 days out. Heavy stuff. I mean, it'll be interesting. A lot's is going to change. And then here's the rainfall right there. And that's where it's raining now. And this area up here, under the gun. Okay. Appreciate subscribing. I do this every day. I would love it if you would subscribe or tell a friend. This was a difficult day today because there's so much going on. So much easier when you get just a straight extratropical. Here's the front. Here's the cold air. Here's the warm air sector. Here it goes. What we have are multiple air masses merging in a jet stream that's pushing a bunch of speed. And so for me to tell you time something out is not, for the models to time something out is not very realistic unless you're staying within a 12 to 24 to 36 hour window, which is what we did. Tomorrow's going to be a fine day. It's tomorrow night into Wednesday. Crescent City, you're wet already, so just get the umbrellas. It's going to stay wet. When all's said and done, Crescent City, we got Northwest California, the most rain. And then Lake Tahoe is going to be an impressive story as we go into the holidays, because it's just, you got all the Bay Area trying to empty out and go to Lake Tahoe, and they're going to have some snow. They're going to have a lot of snow. It's going to start out wet. It's going to be pretty wet snow, but then it's going to drop down. So you're going to have these weird kind of wet layer, right, that freezes, and drier layer, which creates a layer of snow. So you can have different layers, which creates sort of an avalanche concern, especially. So that's kind of, I think avalanche could be something that comes up as well. Not surprising. Okay. Have a great day. I wanted to thank you for something else. Just appreciate all the comments and stuff. Yeah, tell a friend. It'd be awesome. It's fun because somebody stopped me. I was riding a bike the other day, and somebody goes, "Hey, you're the YouTube guy." And I'm like, "No, I'm the Channel 2 guy." And he goes, "No, that's YouTube." I'm like, wow, that's a shift, right? I get more attention for YouTube than I do for being on TV for 40 freaking years. I know the world is changing. See you back here.